advisors to the president took about adhering to the Constitution, following the law. Do you know if he took that oath?
I don't know the answer to that question, but like I told Caitlin, I can get back to you guys on that.
And do you know what expertise he has in the areas of global health or humanitarian aid to be able to assess what's happening at USAID?
Well, first of all, Elon Musk is
All right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Was it? Now you're muted, Ken, or you're. I'm not hearing you. Yeah, you're muted, or your headphones are or something. Are you hearing me? Yep, you're muted. At least your headphones or something. You're not plugged in or something. Nope, not hearing you, Ken. Was hearing you before on the phone anyway. Yeah, no sound from you at all. Doesn't show that you're muted, but I'm not hearing anything. It's got to be your headphones or something like that, or your computer. I don't know.
Celebrating 50 years of music live, featuring Arcade Fire, B-52, Backstreet Boys, Bad Bunny, Body Ray, Brandy Carlisle, Chris Martin, Dave Grohl, David Byrne, Devo, Eddie Vedder, Jack White, Jelly Roll, Lady Gaga, Miley Cyrus, Mumford and Son, Post Malone, The Roots, only on Peacock.
Let me test my. Okay,
There you go. Now I can hear you.
Okay, everything's okay, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I just have to turn off the, let me turn off that echo.
Okay.
Okay. You there?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So what's new with you?
Well, we got more. I'm
What?
sure your wife is up in arms about Trump.
He's arguing about Trump. Yeah, this is that, that famous couple that one guy was in the Senate, the other was a reporter, and they were on one's left and one's right.
Oh yeah, yeah, McConnell and
Yeah.
she would know she wasn't. Well, you're thinking of some. I'm thinking of some. You're thinking of somebody else. The one that's Elaine Chao. She's like a government. She's a secretary of something or other at one point.
Yeah, she was with the
Senate
government or
majority
whatever.
leader. But maybe you might be thinking of somebody else. Yeah, because if he's
No, I mean he was like a kind of like Will Rogers type look.
Yeah. People used to compare it to a turtle.
Yeah. So we're like that, one side and the other, and it usually comes down to the conclusion that I'm a stupid idiot and all the information I have is wrong. It's all based on lies that I hear on the internet. Coming from people like you, coming from right wing commentators and so forth. But I wanted to go over some of that stuff today. I already did an opening, and I want to ask you what you think of him. Let me see what I'm talking about.
He's trying to do well. He's
trying
to
well, there's so much.
Everybody by just doing everything at the same time, so you can't focus on one thing. A lot of the stuff is kind of nuts.
Well,
I mean the stuff. Well, and I have a clip. The stuff with letting letting all these people around Elon Musk look at your social security number, and it's just completely destroy federal regulations on individual privacy. I mean, this could be a to identity theft on a massive scale. And, I mean, or just, Elon Musk's business is essentially, stealing everybody's.
Oh, wait a second, slow
data.
down. Wait a second, slow down. Before we get into anybody's pundits or viewpoints about the Constitution, who else currently has access to that information? The people that gave him permit access have the same access.
Well,
They give him permission.
They
could have given their uncle permission, right?
I mean, these are like, one guy was like some 25-year-old computer science. And again, they made the point that it's out there that they had the ability to change the code.
No, they don't.
So they could, oh no, yes, they did. Yes, they did. That
Said
was
it's read-only.
confirmed by Reuters. And
Read-only.
that's what the Senate was told by that, these guys had access to like they could,
Okay, but wait a second. Hold
they
it.
could, deduct, $1 million from Ken Aaron's bank account, or, if they wanted
Hold
to.
it a second. Wait a
shit like
second.
that.
Wait a second. Somebody already has that authority. Some 100 people in different places have that authority. They could do it, right? So they gave him the authority.
They've actually been vetted, unlike these guys.
By who? By somebody else.
Through the hiring process.
Well, no,
They
wait.
probably that level they may have had a security check. These guys, who the hell knows, essentially.
Okay, wait a minute. I just started the recording, so let me go over this again. We're
I'll play
talking
the
about,
clip from
we're
Amy.
talking about Musk stealing, getting permission to see everybody what kind of underwear they wear. Now, what I'm trying to say,
whatever the Treasury Department has on you, your tax records,
yeah. So who has currently, if Musk didn't have it, who has the authority to give him the authority?
But the IRS, Treasury officials.
Who? Name somebody.
I don't know. These are, it's a group of officials.
You don't know them. You don't even know their names. But somebody else already has that
Well,
authority.
the point is, we don't know with Musk, and these guys have no.
You don't even know who these
They're
other
just
guys are, so you certainly
his
don't know these
subordinates.
guys. You don't even know who they are. Other people have this information, you don't know who.
And then we can argue about it.
No. Wait a sec. Do you understand what I'm saying? I run into the same thing when they say no one's above the law or he doesn't have the authority. You're saying that some other guy, a judge, this guy sitting on the bench, an appointed judge or an elected judge, he says, I'm no better than him. I have more authority than that guy who was elected. So I'm going to say you can't do that.
Who knows? It
comes down to somebody's opinion.
We're gonna pause like all the disbursement by the federal government, and they're like, oh well, we didn't mean your Medicaid check or your Social Security check. And again, but it happened because again, they're not they're just doing a broad brush thing. They're not thinking through what they're doing. Again, obviously that made them look very bad.
No. I understand.
Of course,
you don't agree with what they did. You think it was wrong. Okay.
Yeah,
and so is the judge.
Do you want some random tech guy to be able to look at your?
Stop making your case. I know you disagree. You disagree with it. That's fine. Okay. I saw, somebody do a performance in the Grammys. I didn't like the clothes they were wearing. I have an opinion. So a judge has the opinion that this is illegal. So he has a higher authority than the president of the United States who was elected. He's a judge. He was appointed. He has a higher authority.
That's what our Constitution says. That the president has to follow. Yes, the president has to follow the law.
No.
The president is not an elected. Is not an elected king that can just ignore what the Constitution.
Who is the judge? Who is the judge? Who is the judge? What is the judge? Where does he get the authority to make the judgment?
From the Constitution.
No. Where does he get the authority?
The Constitution says that the judiciary is a check on the executive. That decisions by the judiciary have to be abided by the,
No.
whatever level of authority.
Alex, it's not that
the appeals court or the Supreme Court or the, district court says, tells the government you can't do this, they can't do that.
Okay, but you're evading the question. You're evading the question. the court, you're saying the court, the law, the Constitution. It's a guy. His name is Johnny Jones. He
Or woman,
decides.
or
He decides to input an injunction. It's another guy's saying that guy is wrong. I'm
okay.
saying
Ken, do you believe in our Constitution or not?
I
Then
don't believe it. I hardly know it.
okay. Jim, you want to chime in here?
I'm
What?
just saying.
Ken
I'm
thinks
not saying who's
we
right or
shouldn't
wrong.
care that about Elon Musk, having access to your tax returns because
Oh, he always says crazy shit like that.
Jim, this is what I'm saying. Whoever gave Elon Musk the authority to do whatever he has,
Yeah.
that authority. You don't even
Yeah.
know what that guy's name is. You don't know who he works for.
it's
It's called Donald Trump.
You don't know who. You
Donald
don't.
Trump gave him the authority.
You don't know who it is.
Oh,
It's
come on.
somebody else.
Well, yeah, right. Yeah, come on.
What do you
Of
mean,
course,
come on?
Trump.
It's
Trump
another
gave him the
guy.
authority.
Yeah.
Who else gave him the authority? Donald Duck? Come on.
No,
Mickey Mouse?
somebody gave him the authority. It's
Yeah,
another
the
person.
president of the United States gave him the authority.
Huh?
The president of the United States gave him the authority.
Okay, but somebody is complaining about that.
Well, a lot of people are complaining about that. We were looking at it's a growing bunch of people complaining about it.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, so I don't understand what you're arguing about.
No, what I'm saying is the
Oh.
president told somebody to switch on and give him the code so he can get access. Somebody has that access already.
Look, I don't know the actual mechanical aspects of how this occurred. All I know is what we're getting in with the press records. I don't know how they.
You want to know the details? I got a clip from Amy.
No, this is just.
Yeah, well, I don't. Well, look, I
Common
mean,
sense.
Amy doesn't. I
Common
mean,
sense.
what is
Oh,
Amy?
she has some Waleed Shahid on to explain what's going on.
You just don't get it. It's sort of like when people are saying, of course, we don't want TikTok to get all this information for China, but Google has it and Facebook has it and the banks have it.
Yeah, but look, it's
Here
ridiculous. I
has
mean,
it.
first of all, he's violating Article 1 of the Constitution of the United States, the power of the purse. No one, I mean, nobody voted, or he's not he's like given some special designation.
Who?
And Trump is essentially exceeding the authority of the executive branch by essentially shutting down the executive branch. Now, he promised he would do this in Project 2025, so it does crack me up that all these dopes who, we don't believe that he's going to do this, and that was last summer. Well, I guess this is like proving that this is in fact what he did. But I must admit, the doozy on Monday was, let me turn Gaza like into like a hotel strip or something like that. I mean, that's absurd. I mean, let's clear all of them out. Now, Trump, of course, likes to say outrageous, crazy shit. Okay, he probably, that's sort of his style. But that's the kind of stuff that can, like some jihadi in the Middle East can say, you know what, I'm going to strap myself to a bomb and go kill a bunch of Americans. I mean, it's absolutely asinine. And then he wants to let's take Panama. Let's go take Greenland. And let's go take Gaza and send in troops to clear them all out. I mean, forget about it. And then, on top of it, he has Elon Musk going bananas. First at the Department of Education, which they promised to shut down. So they promised to shut that down. Then he goes over to USAID. Such a terrible organization, an organization that actually is soft power for American foreign policy around the world, feeds people. Oh, let's shut that down. Then he's going now to the national organization, the NOAA, not the National Organization of dealing with atmosphere. I mean, fuck this motherfucker. I mean, forget about it. He's just absolutely ridiculous.
Oh, thank you. Jim, what are you doing tomorrow? Maybe we can have you go in and take over.
Well, I would certainly, well, look, I had to experience the Secret Service last week. That was fun enough on Thursday.
Oh, what happened?
Well, because Hillary Clinton is a faculty member at Columbia, she controls an entire floor. And the Secret Service has modified the floor to protect her. I mean, it's nuts. I used to go hang out on that floor all the time. I used to go use the rooms on that floor. Those floors are no longer accessible to the average person. And uh, because she was going to be at a conference, and this, of course, is after some pro-Palestinian inclined students decided to screw up the bathrooms in the building.
Okay.
They poured liquid cement in the bathrooms and then put graffiti attacking Hillary Clinton in the building in various bathrooms. So that, of course, got the university completely freaked out. They're forcing people to go through metal detectors to go into a conference. And I just, I came walking into this event on Thursday morning and I said, you know what? Fuck this shit. I'm out of here. I don't need this bullshit. And they did the same thing in a teach-in that they should have done 10 months ago, but they decided not to record the damn thing over. So it's like, you really see the effects of this, and it's going to get crazier. It's going to get crazier.
Okay, wait a second, slow down. So this is a good item. I'm glad this happened because it can ask you because you were there. So what would you have done if you had the authority?
What would I have done if I had the
On what
authority?
side?
Authority A to the pro-Hamas students who
They
use,
haven't caught them yet.
well, but
They're
you could have
pursuing them.
prevented
They have the NYPD and probably the Secret Service because they decided to desecrate the bathroom on the floor where Secretary Clinton has her office.
Well, they haven't caught them yet. What would you do? Would you put out an all points bulletin? Would you try to catch them? Would you punish them? Would you let them go? Would you say, "What do you want? I'm sorry. What can we do to make you feel better?" What would you do?
Well, it doesn't matter what I think. I mean, first
Oh,
I
come
would.
on, no, I just elected you president. What would you
Oh, you
do?
elected me president. Well, I would have dealt with this in a totally different way about it 15 months ago. So I would have handled this whole problem a completely different way 15 months ago, and I would have been hands-on right out in front of those people the first day they demonstrated, and nobody did that. And in fact, they're now senior administrators are admitting that they made a mistake a year and a half ago. So that's what I would have done. And yeah, if somebody decides to go in and sabotage toilet bowls, I mean, I have not too much sympathy for that. However, I understand where they're coming from. And again, to get to that point, I mean, for all I know that, like if it was back in the 60s, they would have put a goddamn pipe bomb in there and blown the damn place up. So, I mean, and it's actually somebody who is a faculty member at Columbia who used to be in charge of the NYPD counterterrorism intelligence division. He's actually arguing that they're going to pull some shit like that. And I haven't seen him in a while. I mean, I know I actually took that class with him, and we used to argue all the time about stuff like that. But, I'm not in favor of somebody blowing up and killing a bunch of innocent civilians. So, uh, you know, I to sit there and put me into the decision making right now, I would have done everything to prevent it 15 months ago.
I agree with you. It's very a failure. I mean, it's very weak to say, "What are you going to do? Wait a second. I'm going at 90 miles an hour and there's a stone wall 5 feet in front of me. What do you want me to do?" And I say, "I want you to step on the brakes 5 miles before you got there."
Well, trust me, all these senior faculty who were going into this teaching on Friday, as I told Alex, they were very pissed off. Like, my God, they want to check my coat. They want me to turn in my bag. They think I'm a child. I mean, it was sort of funny to watch them all go freak out about it. But, they were afraid that somebody would go in there. And as it was explosive because some Jewish kid who was obviously pro-Israeli, he made a couple of very insightful, bright comments. And then 10 minutes later, a professor gets up and says, "You're the guy who doxed me. You're the guy who doxed me."
Yeah.
And, and so it's sort of depressing to watch because it shows you how very irreconcilable a lot of positions are. They're still there. There's a lot of anger, a lot of resentment, and And then we're in the midst of this crazy situation as a society with Elon Musk taking apart the
Oh, no, stop blaming Elon Musk.
administration.
Slow
When
down,
do
slow
we
down.
stop?
The
Suppose
thing
suppose
with
they go
Israel, the thing
suppose
with-
they go take your goddamn personal data. You want them
Listen,
to
one
that shit?
second. One
What?
second, Jim. The thing at Columbia has nothing to do with Elon Musk. It's under Biden that it got started. So
Well,
not
I mean,
blaming
well,
Biden, but it
well,
was
actually,
doing
it's
that.
it got started a long time. It got started in 1917. But anyway,
Yeah, so the
yeah.
question is, well, the next question, well, this is a question. Are the Palestinians, you were there, you could answer this to the best guess you can make. Are those pro-Palestinian or pro-Hamas protesting students? Are they students of Columbia?
Yeah, they are.
All of them, they're part of a group.
I don't know who actually sabotaged the bathrooms,
No, I don't
but
mean
in terms of actually being able to get into that building, you have to have an ID. And they had an incident that occurred the same day where a couple of students in Cafias came in and basically harassed a professor in his class. And that sort of, again, they had that on film. They've discovered who three of them are. They suspended three of them, and they got a fourth one. Now, I'm not necessarily in favor of that. I'm more in favor of intellectual challenge. I would just go in and I would sit down and argue with the guy rather than go in cafes and hand out leaflets, which is what they did. And it became a big incident. Now, 200 faculty signed a petition and they wouldn't put their names on it. See, that shows you how fucked up it is. That they want the cafes removed immediately. They don't want anybody to be masked. They want stern disciplinary measures, and they ask for several faculty, including Joe Massad, to be immediately fired. But they wouldn't sign their names publicly to that petition.
well, how did they document how many people participated?
Well, they announced that 200 people. But they did not. Well, obviously they wouldn't declare who they were because I guess they're afraid people would harass them and go after them and try to make them single them out.
Yeah.
And again, it's just like we're just going to see another explosion because if you put in the mixture of Trump going, basically
Okay,
bananas.
Trump. 1 second. Is
What do
it
you mean Trump?
Is it blackmail?
What about Elon Musk?
Is it blackmail? Is this blackmail that the students are doing?
What do you mean blackmail? I don't think
Well,
so.
if you don't concur with our demands, we're going to make trouble. Whatever.
They're just acting like they feel they're revolutionaries. So what the hell? They're going to pull some shit like this. I mean, that doesn't surprise me.
But
I mean, the problem is that they're basically going up against. It's not that difficult to figure out who these kids were, because if you have CCTV and you have the NYPD there, you can probably reconstruct who goes in and out of that building at a certain period of time. And if you have an idea what time it happened, you could probably isolate, because the whole goddamn building then became nuts. They had 12 guards on one floor after this stupid incident happened with the toilets. And, it's.
In your explanation, it wasn't clear what they did with the cement. You can really cause.
We know what they did. They destroyed the
system
of the building. They destroyed the
sewage
sewage system of the entire building. It's a 15-floor building. They fucked it up.
They threw cement down the toilet.
They threw liquefying cement into 4 female toilets. Actually, the toilets in 4 bathrooms, women's bathrooms, which usually have about 3 or 4 toilets, and they obviously fucked up the entire building. They fucked up the entire building.
They go to jail for that.
Well, yeah, if they find out who it is, they'll go to jail for it. Absolutely. But again, the question of property, and then they did this in honor of that little 6-year-old girl who was killed, Hein Rajab.
I don't care about 6-year-old girls. You
Well,
have that every hour, a 6-year-old.
Well, look, yeah, okay, fine. Yeah, well then, look, I watched a documentary yesterday where the woman was talking about these people moving back into their rubble. And then we have to hear Trump on Monday say, hey, the whole thing is this, the whole thing is that. I mean, come on.
Trump. Okay, So there's lots
Yeah,
of things to talk about
have
Trump, but let's
what?
be reasonable. Let's
What do you
talk
mean be
about
reasonable?
what Trump did, not just Trump is a rotten guy. Let's
I
talk
did say
about
what
what
he
he's
did.
doing.
He announced that he was going to. He said, let's all 1.5 or 2 million people get out of there and
He
put them
didn't
into
do
other
anything.
countries.
That's just talk. That's an idea. He didn't put an order out.
Well, I realize that, but you know, he
Maybe
likes
you're
to talk
punishing
shit.
now for what he says, you know? If
Yeah,
I say
but
I'm
that's
gonna go
but
have
see,
sex with
again, that just creates unnecessary
well, that's your opinion. That's an
anti-American
opinion. You have
sentiments in
an
the Middle
opinion.
East.
That's you
What?
just arguing about opinion. I can argue
No,
about
it's not a
opinion.
question of opinion.
It's
He, as
opinion.
president of the United States, he wants to order these people out of Gaza,
Okay, can I
and
stop
it will
talking for a second?
destabilize Egypt and Jordan. It's
Hold it
not
a
even in
second.
the interest
Stop
of the
it.
United
Stop it.
States.
Stop
What?
talking.
All right, what?
Stop talking. Jesus Christ. This is conjecture. He makes statements. He says all kinds of statements. So do I. No, I can't. Not where I live. But you know, he's just saying something to get press, to get attention, to see what happens. He's done this with Greenland, Mexico, Canada, the Gulf of America. He's done all these crazy things. Now, Mexico and Canada conceded because he showed them. I mean business. I put the tariff out there. Now, when he went and talked to them, and he withdrew it when he got cooperation on what his goals were. So it's part of his tactic. He's always does things like that. So you can argue you don't like the tactic. That's fine. You can, but the talk about what he did, the act of what he did, not other people's reactions. If you're going to say, "Oh, well, it's a known fact. It's as simple as physics. If you do this, these people are going to get upset." That's not true.
Well, that is
That's
true about
conjecture.
it.
It's not. It's
That's
it's
conjecture.
not. But it's not at the same time, Ken.
That's
it's-
conjecture.
that
That's
Trump
like
is-
Black
Oh,
Lives.
Trump
baloney.
is-
That's
That's
like
not
Black
conjecture.
Lives Matter.
Ken,
Black Lives
you-
Matter. It's a white guy.
Stop trying to
black
talk
guy.
over us.
Put him in jail. Otherwise, they're going to revolt. If you don't put
Look,
somebody,
Ed, I mean,
somebody
if
has to go to jail.
you
A
care-
black guy got killed.
You are living in the United States of America, correct? You know, you do care
I
about
don't
what
know.
happens to the country. I mean, you know, even from like a
It may come
conservative
back to being the
perspective,
United States of
Trump is-
America, but right
Trump
now
is-
it's not.
Trump is undermining our long-term foreign policy because who the hell wants to work with a country that's just acts like a bully? At a certain point, you're like, you'll just go, Trump or no Trump, be like, screw the U.S. I'm gonna go work with China or Russia because they don't do this kind of crap. They're not gonna threaten to invade me or post tariffs.
Wait a second. Don't slow down. Slow down. Russia and China don't do this kind of crap. What the fuck are
No.
you talking about?
No, no. Russia, they have a specific, actually, again, non-interference policy in the domestic affairs of their allies.
They've got a domestic
occasionally they do,
non-interference
but
policy,
they
except
don't-
for the
they
people
don't-
they put in jail or execute. The assassination.
not in other countries. No. When
they-
was the last time? When was the last time China sanctioned another country? Never, 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 ever.
Tibet.
Unless it was part of a US
Tibet.
Zero. The number of countries. Trump is
Tibet.
the number of countries she is sanctioning
Tibet.
unilaterally. don't have to worry about
Tibet. Tibet. And then the
It's not
area on
happening.
the East
That's
Coast.
the-
On the
that's
East
the
Coast.
fact. That's zero. Just like China, the number of
Oh,
countries
Tibet's not a
China
country.
has-
Tibet's not a country.
has invaded in the last 40 years. Zero.
40 years. Okay. I'm sorry. 40
Since
years.
1979. Actually, it's more than 40 years.
Okay, so
45.
everything before that doesn't count.
Well, actually, the last time would actually be
Wait a second.
1962.
1979. Wait a
They
minute.
invaded,
79
India.
doesn't count.
Actually, it goes. So it's actually 60, more than 60 years.
Okay, but 70 before 79 doesn't count. That includes
No, 62 is the last time they invaded anybody.
no, just give me a date. Give me a goddamn date. 62.
19. Yeah, I said it. 1962, they invaded India. They had a
Okay,
little
62. Okay.
emergency.
62. Okay. So what did the US do before 62? How about Jim Crow? How about slavery? How about the Spanish American War? How about
We're talking
dropping
about
bombs on Nika?
foreign policy.
How
Ken.
about dropping A bombs? You don't want to count that stuff, right? Don't count it. It's before 62, right? That's what you got, 62. So you got a lot of American history to throw away.
Look, you're just throwing. You're
And I
just doing
think that
lightweight
I
talk.
think that Russia
This is
established.
not useful. You're just,
When
you're
did
just
I don't know?
doing
You're the
straw
historian.
man
When did Russia invade Poland? When did they take control?
Poland?
After World War II, right? When did Russia take control of Poland?
During World War II.
Yeah, but when did they declare? Part of it became part of it became Russian, part of it became not Poland.
45.
45, okay, but that's before 1962. Okay, it doesn't count.
Yeah. And
Okay.
who said we should, not during the war, who said we needed to ethnically cleanse the Germans from a lot of Eastern Europe because of all the wars they started.
Okay, so
A guy by the name of Winston Churchill. So
all right, I think we've gone. Do
the British and Americans were fully on board for.
you think we're going far out of scope by looking
rid
at
of
the
the
history of
Germans.
America?
So
Because you're saying this is a bully country?
that's on us, not just Stalin. We went along with it. We wanted it to happen.
No.
We did Yalta.
I can't follow all this complexity. If you made a statement, people are going to leave America because they don't want to live in a bully country. They'll go to China or Russia.
No, I'm not
Because they're
talking about
not
other
bully
countries. Other countries, eventually, they're not going to want to work with us.
Other countries?
Okay, well, why would Ken? In your personal life, why would you? I assume you've been. Well, I know. Well, you probably been like a work relationship with that was basically abusive, right? Or I know a personal one. Is it? Do people stick? Again, some people obviously stick around, but most people again eventually leave. That kind of whether again it's between individuals or between countries.
So I don't know. I don't know if there's a big emigration out of the United States. I know there's an immigration.
This is about states.
There's people leaving California to go to Texas because the taxes are less and the regulation is less, and so forth. And there's certain states that people are leaving and certain states they're going to. In terms of countries, the highest immigration is to with that country where the oil millionaires live. That city where the fake buildings and everything. I forgot their name. Dubai. They have the highest rate of immigration. But the U.S. does have a degree of emigration. So does France, and so does England. So but in terms of you're saying, my only thing is, how can you say we're a bullying country, but Germany and China, Russia and China are not bullying countries? You got to be kidding. You have to be kidding.
No,
And
not
China.
here.
I like
the U.S. is currently sanctioning 1/3 of the world's population. Nobody else is doing that. Nobody else is even close.
But what do we do?
We have
Wait
like
a minute.
4,000. Ken, on Russia alone, we have I think it's like something like 4,000 different sanctions. And again, that's one country alone. Again, look at what we did. Ask your wife. Well, maybe has your wife been to Cuba?
No, we were going to go to Cuba, but it sank 10 feet below the ocean, so we couldn't find it.
We've been screwing with them for 70 years. We didn't recognize the People's Republic.
I got to show you something. Look, I have a mole over here. That's why I'm not perfect. I have a flaw over here.
These are not small.
There's something else on this arm.
This is like saying, oh, it's just a little problem. That I'm a serial killer. Other than that, I'm a good guy.
I think you're nuts.
Guys go out and murder prostitutes.
I think you're nuts. But that's just
what are you looking for?
How could you say China and Russia are not bullying countries with the history they have?
Again, nobody does it as much as the U.S. does because we're the number one power, and of course that's and plus at this point, we can't really afford to because of domestic because the American people aren't going to trust us to invade anybody. They're not going to send
Okay,
their
so,
sons and
all right,
daughters
let's stop
to
this.
go,
Let's stop the
take
argument because I
it.
don't want to change. You can live with that. You should get a tattoo. America sucks. But like, there was a topic I did want to discuss with you. Do you know what USAID stands for?
United States Agency for Development is the last one, I think. Geez, I should remember.
It's an agency for international development.
International development.
It's not aid. It doesn't have anything to do with aid. It's international development.
International development. Or it's an acronym. Yeah.
Okay, so how much do they spend every year?
Was it 80, 70, 80 billion? Something like that is what the number I heard. Something around there.
Yeah, like 80 billion, let's say, right? And what does it go for normally? How many countries are we sending aid to? Or not
Pretty
aid.
much every country in the world.
Oh, it's just
I'm
100.
surprised if there's someone we don't send.
It's about 130 countries, underestimate. And who's overseeing it?
The State Department is supposed to, but they have
Oh.
their own administrator.
No, they're independent. They're separate from the State Department.
Well, no, I mean, if you look at the statute, they're technically supposed to report to coordinate with the Secretary of State.
Okay, so
So it's their statute, but again, yeah, they get directly funded by the Congress, so and they have some independence. Yeah, again, that's what Trump is. Trump wants to bring it all under State Department. Basically, again, it's
Did you-
combines a lot of different,
My
ideological.
younger brother worked for USAID.
what did he tell you about it?
He was a forensic criminal investigator
Huh.
for USAID.
How did that work, Jim?
And he essentially was investigating
Oh, fraud.
fraud internationally.
Wow,
So he was a gun-toting agent.
really?
So he did that for about 8 years. I don't know what he's doing right now, but he did that for 8 years. He was in Iraq and Afghanistan, investigating
Right.
essentially, like our allies stealing money from us
Yeah.
and stuff like that. But the agency, I mean, look, there's a lot of people who probably, like some people on the left are probably, having orgasms
Yeah.
over AID being dismantled.
Yeah.
And, it is indeed an arm of American foreign policy. The question is that, it's a soft power instrument of American foreign policy. And the countries that get aid, like what's the top country? Ukraine, Ethiopia, Jordan, the DRC, which is in the middle of a big chaotic situation right now, Somalia, Yemen, Afghanistan, Nigeria, South Sudan, and Syria.
That's it. That's right.
And so, like, I don't see, again, it's absolutely moronic. And someone like Musk, here's this guy who,
Oh, come on. You're going to personality.
no.
Talk about the
here's
policy.
this guy who is helping the neo-Nazi party in Germany, off Deutschland, get into power.
Were you
I
in a
mean, this is
mudslinger?
ridiculous. It's ridiculous to have a guy like this have that kind of power to I mean, he is not elected. He's only appointed by Trump. He gave Trump $250 million. So money talks and bullshit walks in American politics. But to essentially destroy the soft power ability of a foreign policy of a government, which structurally, no matter what government's in power, no matter whether it's a communist government, a socialist government, a capitalist government, soft power is always part of their foreign policy. Actually destroy that and then give, like they want to talk about how they want to confront China, and they're basically handing China a silver platter. Like, see, look at these unreliable Americans. You can't trust them to supply you with food aid. you can't trust them to do this. You can't trust them to do that. I mean, it's just a complete idiotic, short-sighted it's beyond xenophobia. I mean, I don't know how to describe it. It's like paleo-conservative,
Uh-huh.
which is a new term.
There's something that Chris did that's to your personal benefit. You have somebody new to complain about.
I have somebody new to complain about.
Somebody new to
I've
complain
been
about.
complaining about Trump for a long time before this guy. It wasn't-
Yeah,
know.
I don't think I've ever been quiet about Mr. Trump.
Yeah. Exactly.
And then, of course, the DEI thing. I sort of remember the famous comment of Lee Atwater. Lee Atwater said in the 50s, they used to say nigger, nigger, nigger. In 1968, it became uncool to say nigger. So what'd you do? You say force busing, states' rights. And then you move to other issues of, control the budget spending. Well, now, frankly, DEI becomes the new nigger word, frankly, except you don't have to say nigger. You basically can say, oh, it's a DEI this, it's DEI this. Oh, it's woke, it's this and that. But what's the intent? What's the practical effect of it? It's the same kind of thing. It's basically an attack on the whole nature of creating equity in American society, and that's what the affirmative action movement about
okay
the Civil Rights Act, etc. Minimal reform in American society, then scotched. And then what do they say about the DEI hire? A female helicopter pilot, and it looks like a Puerto Rican pilot in that aircraft. Campos,
Wait a second.
pilot of the aircraft that crashed in the Potomac. Now, to me, they only had 100 feet between them, or 200 feet between them. When the actual contact occurred, and we'll find out what specifically happened. But Trump's comment, of course, was it's a DEI hire. You know what? Fuck him. It's just like it's an insult to what makes America great. Period. Not again, but now. To actually insult the diversity and richness of our country, make America great. Yeah, it's what makes America great right now, not make America great again. Make America great. What's it makes it now? It's just an insult to everything that's good about America when he does stuff like that. Absolutely insulting.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so what did you say? Who was the pilot? The girl or the Rican?
It was a female pilot, and then the other guy's name was Campo, I believe. He was a Puerto Rican from Brooklyn or Queens.
Is he a
And he became
co-pilot?
It doesn't appear to have been his fault at all. So why did they bring him into it?
He was a very skilled pilot. I mean, this stuff happens, and then they want to make it a DEI hire.
Systematic issues like the number of air traffic controllers, which probably contributed.
Oh, they don't.
And
he doesn't
lack
bring
of
that
the
up,
general
of course.
lack of funding into the FAA and everything else.
Well, I don't think any one of the three of us has a valid opinion because not one of us ever flew a plane and only traveled in an aircraft.
Oh, well, then we would have to get Otis in on this because I think he still has a pilot's license, right, Jim?
He was actually an instructor.
Yeah, so
But that doesn't necessarily mean he's going to have, he'll have an opinion about this. But, I don't necessarily think that, I'm curious. I'd be curious to see what he has to say. You could call him up right now.
I want to bring something, a clip up. Totally, it's something that you might have heard of about what's going on in the Congo.
Wait a second. Before we do that, before we leave this, I want to play one thing. There's this real cute girl. She's a 10, according to the Voice. Is that what it's called? The program? The View. They said the only reason she got hired as press secretary is because she's a 10. So let me just play this. It's going to be short. It's about the USAID. Now, let me see if I can get this done effectively here. I got that on, and here we go. And let me increase the size of this. And here we go.
He serves as a great ally and a friend to the president. And I think Elon Musk also.
You and other senior advisors to the president took about adhering to the Constitution, following the law. Do you know if he took that oath?
I don't know the answer to that question, but like I told Caitlin, I can get back to you guys on that.
And do you know what expertise he has in the areas of global health or?
Well, first of all, Elon Musk is a once-in-a-generation business leader. He is an entrepreneur. He serves as a great ally and a friend to the president. And I think Elon Musk also has a little bit of common sense. And I think the American people really appreciate that when it comes to the federal government, because it seems like all common sense has been lost in this city. And that's what you see when you look at USAID. I know Secretary Rubio made some comments about how he will be acting as the director over that agency. And here's the reason why Elon Musk and others have been taking a look. Because if you look at the waste and abuse that has run through USAID over the past several years, these are some of the insane priorities that organization has been spending money on. $1.5 million to advance DEI in Serbia's workplaces, $70,000 for a production of a DEI musical in Ireland, $47,000 for a transgender opera in Colombia, $32,000 for a transgender comic book in Peru. I don't know about you, but as an American taxpayer, I don't want my dollars going towards this crap, and I know the American people don't either, and that's exactly what Elon Musk has been tasked by President Trump to do, to get the fraud, waste, and abuse out of our federal.
And if you've been in a car accident, don't call an attorney.
Okay.
Use this AI app instead. That's what I did, and that's how I got this one.
There we go. So that's all. There was some crazy things. Now, of course, you're going to find that some of the things could be jokes, some of them could be corruption, but it's okay that they handle that. I was shocked because when they first did this, I saw some kind of an email saying people are going to die in Uganda. They're not going to be able to stop the spread of Ebola. They're not going to stop a flood. One of the things they were going to do is to fix 10 police stations in Pakistan, I think it was, that got damaged by a flood. And there was something, it's either $100,000 or $1 million for condoms to go to it was either, I think it was Afghanistan, or it could have been, I don't know where else it could have been. Oh, to Hamas. I don't know. I think it was the condoms.
Hamas, that's
They used those to make little bombs.
it was going to Colombia, I think.
Yeah. So, so it's
So what's your point?
doing to spend the money. But even if it was an
That's
aid,
called healthcare, Ken. You know?
even if it was for aid, to think that there's 130 countries around the world that depend upon an organization here that's appointed. It's not voted on. It's not part of the regular government. It's off on the side. It was started.
Ken, no, Ken.
All right, look,
Funded by
let's
the
cut the
Congress.
bullshit.
So
She
it's-
just basically, what'd she do?
Second,
What
one
did she
second,
do?
both of you guys.
No,
I want to finish my sentence. It was instituted by John F. Kennedy in 1961.
right.
And over the years, it's gotten, more assistance, more
Right.
funding and so forth. But to have it be like, this is the goodwill agency of the United States. And
Yeah,
it's
what's
not
wrong with that?
regulated by policy. It's not regulated by policy as to
Oh,
what.
come on. This is ridiculous.
regulated
Like,
by the
look, why don't you look, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. I mean, look, this is really ridiculous. Like, first of
I
all,
don't know because it's not public.
now,
And
why are
it's
you talking? It's
declared.
not public. It's
You-
been there
What are you
forever.
talking about, Ken?
It's been
Where
there
You can look
forever.
up-
Where's
you
the
can look
data?
up the
Where is it
different
public?
programs.
Where
It
is
was a
public?
tool of the Cold War. It's been there forever.
Yeah, but
And like
who
the
knows what
fact
they're
that you
doing?
haven't investigated it or aware of it, that's on you, man. And then all the examples she brought up are complete bullshit.
Yeah.
Because, oh yeah, okay, like it's sort of like a version of that ad that they did, the we, they, the she, they ad that was so effective,
Yeah.
about attacking Kamala, about, transgender this, transgender that. She brought up like a transgender comic book, 4 or 5 examples. I guess it totaled about $200,000. Big fucking deal. All the other money's going to feed people who need food. I mean, why didn't that little bitch mention that? She didn't mention shit.
Oh, you got 3 people to complain about now.
No, you mean 3 people? What
She's
the hell?
on your-
What, you
she's
think
on your
because she's a
list.
good-looking girl, I have to sit there and kiss her fucking ass? Hell with that shit.
There you go. You got 3 people to attack
Yeah, well.
and complain about. And what about Barron? He's the next one.
About Barron?
Yeah,
What do I care about Barron?
Barron Trump. You know, it's
What do I give a shit about him?
I don't know.
I mean, like, big deal.
Are
The
you
guy,
big?
like, he's a big, tall kid.
Yeah.
Mazel tov. The guy, it must be hilarious, him at NYU.
Uh-huh.
Oh, he's studying there. Okay.
He's at NYU.
Okay, now we can go to Alex's talk about the Congo. And
I'm
we're
sure- I'm
trying
sure
to help
Jim
out
has-
with aid from
Okay.
USAID.
Because this
Let's
has
see what
been
you got.
somewhat, and I don't think it's getting enough, which is what's going on in the Congo recently with Rwanda-backed rebels. Because essentially they've,
Turn on the speakers
it's yeah. It's
and increase the size.
it's on computer. Oh, so this is from Al Jazeera. Just 2 minutes.
Volunteers and other health workers were taking bodies for burial.
Can't understand a word she's saying.
Rebels overran the city last week.
What, Ken?
I think you should turn on the captions
Oh,
because the sound is like.
Volunteers and other health workers were taking bodies for burial. M23 rebels overran the city last week. Aid agencies say more than 900 people were killed in just a few days. The morgue in Goma is full. Bodies are lying everywhere and decomposing. Mama Chiza has been searching for her son's remains. She can't find him underneath the hundreds of bodies.
My son was in the house. We were bombed. My neighbor's child was injured, so my son offered to take the child to the hospital, but a soldier shot them. He stole their motorbike. People took their bodies to the morgue.
The guns are now silent in the city. Government forces left their vehicles and other military hardware as they fled. Rights groups are worried. They say what's happening in the east is a disaster.
We don't know what to say. We can't live like this. It hurts. We should not be fighting. The leaders have to sit, talk, and get a solution. We don't need these deaths.
Meanwhile, most of the aid workers, including UN personnel, have been evacuated from Goma. And in the country's capital, Kinshasa, the US has asked its citizens to leave immediately. Last week, hundreds of protesters attacked several embassies, accusing the international community of not doing enough to help end the conflict. The situation is getting more uncertain by the day. Catherine Soy, Al Jazeera. Make sure to.
okay. Well, I know.
It's going to be
Jim.
commentary. We got to go to Jim on this immediately. Jim, you please don't leave us. Who's behind this proxy war that's going on in the Congo?
Well, M23. Look, you have this division between the Tutsi and the Hutu that goes back to the ethnic divisions in Rwanda. And if you recall, the Hutu were motivated to go kill the Tutsi during the slaughter in Rwanda. So M23, which is the group that is operating around Goma, which is in the eastern province of Congo. These are areas, by the way, that are very rich in minerals. The one reason they're fighting for these areas is that the minerals in the area of eastern Congo are very important for electronics and mobile phones and smartphones. There's extremely wealthy diamonds, etc. So the March 23rd movement, M23, is a Congolese Tutsi group that was formed about 12 years ago, 13 years ago. And it basically is fighting to seize one of the big towns in eastern Congo called Goma. But what they're threatening to do is they're threatening to drive on and overthrow the government in Kinshasa. In other words, overthrow the Congolese government. And Felix Tshisekedi is the president of the Congo, and he considers M23 a puppet of Rwanda. So he has vowed to counterattack and retake Goma. So that's what, in part, is what's going on. This is a long, you know, a long-standing conflict going on, and you know, in northern Kivu, like just to give you an idea, like Che Guevara, back in the mid '60s, he tried to go to this part of the Congo to stir up a continental rebellion in Africa. And he was confronted with the craziness. It was a total defeat for him before he then comes back to Cuba and then ultimately winds up leading the campaign in Bolivia, which results in his death. But he was actually in the Congo trying to stir up the pot there. And it was in this area of the Congo that he operated in many, many decades ago. And again, this is a different conflict that's going on right now. You have the question of Rwanda operating militarily, and that's where you get into these conflicts with, I don't know, whether other external powers beyond United Nations Security Council members, such as the United States, France, and England, are involved. But they're upset that Rwandan troops are operating in the Congo along with M23. So this is where, and Rwanda in the past has, been involved in fighting, and Rwanda, for example, overthrew the government in Uganda. So there's all these interesting aspects of this, or they have a relationship with the Ugandan army. So it's an interesting conflict going on.
But who backs them in terms of other countries?
Pardon me?
Who's backing the countries?
Rwanda.
Well, that's where you get into these controversies. The who's backing who is an interesting question. Because you have these multinationals backing all these different groups, but you also have, for example, when this all started, the different countries will have their own foreign interests and desires to take control of resources, like Rwanda. And Rwanda's president is an ally of the United States, Kagame. He was actually trained at Fort Leavenworth. So, the United States, England, and Germany are threatening to cancel aid to Rwanda if they don't stop this offensive into the Democratic Republic of the Congo. And this war has been going on for a long time. This war has resulted in millions of deaths. They've actually fought in varying times at great length, and there's been, people actually refer to this as the First World War in Africa when it broke out, back in the 90s. So this is an extension, but they're fighting for control of natural resources. That's what this is all about.
So is there major corporations involved?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there are. Yeah, I mean, the key thing is the M23. They were smuggling coltan, which is a mineral used in developing electronics. Yeah, exactly, for cell phones, and so that's where these offensive operations, you have to see that in that context, that's what they're doing.
Okay, so but there's no hint that China's involved at all.
China can get involved, but I mean, these groups have their own internal motivation to do this, aside from the interrelationship with external powers.
Okay, so I got an oddball question here. I don't know if either one of you can address it. Is the UN doing anything to accommodate or to mediate or anything? This conflict has been going on, you say, for years.
They've been trying to.
They've had they even had peacekeepers at various points. But yeah, I mean, they they tried to get involved when Congo was first created. And, that turned out to be a mess for them, and was basically a defeat. Including the assassination by the Belgians, with probably with our involvement of Congo's first prime minister Lumumba, who's still quite
Well,
famous.
that's there's a whole this is a different situation now. That is something that goes back to the question of independence in 1960, but this situation is way beyond that sort of parameter. The countries that were adjacent to the Congo, like Zimbabwe, intervened for their own self-interest to gain and control mineral resources. And that there's lots of motivations beyond, just simply different than what occurred in 1960 that led to someone like Lumumba being killed by the CIA, or actually CIA proxies. Because I met the guy who actually had his body, Lumumba's body, in the back of his trunk of his car. So he was driving around with Lumumba's body after he was killed. This is John Stockwell. So anyway, I mean, and there's other countries involved. They're trying to not see this spill over into their own countries, like Angola. Angola's trying to mediate because Congo is such a central country in Africa. It is adjacent to literally, at least 10 or 15 countries, which is one of the reasons why Che Guevara was there back in the 60s. Because they figured that if they were able to set up a revolutionary government in the Democratic Republic of Congo, they would be able to spur equal revolutions against Western power throughout Africa. See, look at the position of the DRC. It's right in the middle of Central Africa. Angola, Zambia, Tanzania, Gabon, Chad, Sudan. It's a very central part of Africa.
Now, is there any religious content to this? Is it one tribe?
Yeah, the Tutsi versus the Hutu. This is over in this period here. See, when the Tutsi overthrew the Hutu was if you go into the that whole genocide in Rwanda, the Hutu were the ones responsible for it, and then the Tutsi came in and overthrew them, and they were helped by Uganda and Tanzania. So the result of it was that the Hutu fled into the Congo, to Bukavu, to Goma, etc. And so this clash has been going on ever since that happened.
No, I know,
but it's about 20 years. We're talking about this has been going on for 20 years, 20 plus years.
Factions of Islam like Shiite and Sunni, or
no, it's not. That's not
African religion. African religion.
No, these are Catholics. The Hutu are Catholics, and so are the Tutsis. They're influenced by Christian
they're all former Belgian or French colonies, so they have Catholic.
Yeah, Rwanda was a Belgian colony, and so was the Congo.
And the Belgians were the ones who started because the Tutsis were a minority, but the Belgians put them in more important positions to divide and conquer, and that had unfortunate long-term consequences.
Yeah, but but anyway, that's part of it. I mean, but they had a truce that was brokered by the United States a couple of years, actually, last year in the summer, and the ceasefire did not work out. And the problem there was that the Rwandan military was involved. And what you'll have is, see Luanda down there, that's Angola right there, Angola. So Angola interceded between the Congo and Rwanda to have a ceasefire. And so that's why here's the situation where they took Goma, and now they're threatening to march on Kinshasa, which is over in this area here. Kinshasa is over in that area.
To the west. And kind of little arm that goes,
Yeah, all the way. See, Kinshasa, that's the capital of the Congo. It's all the way to the left.
All the way in the.
Yeah, see, all the way on the river there. The Congo River.
Yeah. That's the capital.
Yeah.
This guy?
That's Kinshasa, yeah. That's where that's where Muhammad Ali and Foreman fought. Kinshasa. The Rumble in the Jungle.
The Rumble in the Jungle. But I never knew that. Look at this. I know this from that movie, remember? Which says
Lake Victoria.
Lake Victoria.
The movie with Humphrey Bogart.
Well, no, that was the African Queen. I don't know, maybe that was in it too. But no, the one where it says, what is it? It says someone, I presume,
Oh, that's
like 5 years to find them, this reporter.
Livingston, I presume.
Yeah, Livingston, I presume. The classic British understatement. But anyhow, okay, so it's not, the Catholics, the Hutus are the Catholics there in the Congo now, and the Rwandan is Presbyterian, or you don't know?
That's not the fact. The factor was ethnic hatred and rivalry and animosity, which led to 1 million Tutsi being killed.
Yeah, but they're mostly inbred, so it's a DNA tribalism. It's not a.
No, I wouldn't say it's DNA. It's based on social constructs.
One is taller than the other.
Yeah, so what? I mean, like, you got a lot of people who are tall in Africa.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, yeah, like the Tutsis, I think they're very tall. There's certain tribes that are very tall, and
no, you can tell ethnically if someone's a Tutsi. As opposed to a Hutu. A Hutu is more sub-Saharan African, whereas you can see the Tutsi are more related to Eastern African. There you can see the ethnic genealogical differences, but they were all intermarried. I mean, they were all intermarried. I mean, people were killing. It was quite horrible. I mean, I know guys who went there. I know guys who went there and investigated what occurred. And, you're talking about they did, I know people who studied the villages, like who killed who. And, you're killing your next door neighbor, someone you had interacted with all your life.
Yeah.
And so it was quite a profound event that occurred, and the person who was a Human Rights Watch person who went down there, she was an incredible woman, Rakia Omar. She's now a barrister in England. But that's Kagame over there. You just showed Kagame. That's Kagame right there. I don't know if you can see that's Kagame, Paul Kagame.
One on the right.
This guy in the picture?
No, the picture down there you had. But the Hutus are Bantu. Whereas the Tutsi are physically different.
I'm just having trouble moving the thing over to the center of the screen. There we go. Okay, this is somebody trying to point the difference between them physically. Not much difference that I could recognize. It's like the difference between a Scot and an Ireland guy. There's not much difference that we could recognize. And it could be on the names or whatever, but the habits, whether that smokes menthol.
No, they're trust me, they're physical differences. People, they were killed because of this. They killed them. That's Kagame, the guy with the glasses.
Oh,
Kagame.
Right, this guy. So
the guy with the glasses? That's Kagame.
He's the president?
He's a Tutsi.
Yeah, but what is he? Is he the prime minister?
He's the president of Rwanda.
The president of Rwanda. Well, nobody can solve this. The UN is what do you call it?
They're fighting over control of resources, man. That's what it's like. That's what it's about.
Uh-huh.
That's what look, all the wars in Africa are, going back to when you study different parts of Africa carefully, and it's very complicated. It's like studying Europe. It's very complicated, but when you get right down to it, they're fighting over resources like humans do all over the world. That's unfortunately the bottom line.
Hmm. There you go. Yeah, I know. I'm aware of the conflicts going on in Nigeria with the
Well, Nigeria, Boko Haram.
yeah,
You've
Boko
got
Haram.
you've got the conflicts in Sudan. You've got conflicts all throughout Central Africa and the Sahel. I actually went to the Institute of African Studies at Columbia today and raised hell about certain things that haven't been done. I said, because none of them are aware of the kind of things we did in the 1970s there, these young kids. And it was actually great to be there because there was a friend of mine. I haven't seen him in about 20 years, and he was there from that period of time when I was there, and he is Ghanaian. So it was nice to see them all because, I think we were trying to spur them into positive kinds of moves. They wanted to do a big conference about Patrice Lumumba, and the kids did. And I just told them, I said, look, you guys aren't aware of the stuff we did back in the 70s. We were actually going and lobbying on Congress on Capitol Hill. And all sorts of stuff like that. So, but they don't study these conflicts. These conflicts are very important, and where you see them paid attention to is in London, in England, because of the vast in England. But you have a lot of Africans who live in New York at this point in time. I mean, there's really large African communities in New York City, and I'm sure in Los Angeles too. But more, I know in New York, there's a lot of Africans from all over the continent. Anyway, you want to move on to another story?
No, let's see what I have, if I have anything else. World population, what is that? I don't know. Let me see what this is. Oh yeah, this is interesting. Now, this is another thing about Trump. Can you see this map?
He's another Malthusian like you are?
No, I don't know. We need a new name for that.
No, Malthus.
Now people are complaining about underpopulation. Not enough people to work, to make money, to pay the rich people.
Well, he's been throwing them out of the country. I mean, hell.
So this is a map of the green countries allow birthright citizenship. The red countries don't. And
Can you show us the map?
Can you see the map?
Nope.
Yeah.
Where's the map? I don't see it.
You don't see it.
I can't see it, Jim. I can see it.
I don't see it.
Huh.
What do you see?
I see nothing. I see your mug, Ken.
All right, let me start. Stop.
You got to share it.
Okay, now I want to start again. Share it and see what happens. Now, do you see the map?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the green countries are birthright citizenship. Yeah. Basically,
unrestricted.
Canada, U.S., Mexico, and all the Central American countries too. I don't know why. Yeah. Now, and most of the countries in South America, I was told there was another article that said there were 3 countries that were not in Central America. I forget what they were, but you probably can't tell.
Looks like Colombia.
Looks like the Guyana.
So, but most of them aren't. And now in Europe, most of the North American countries are not birthright.
Not full birthright
citizenship. Yeah. They have restrictions. There are 3 countries in Europe that are birthright citizenship. I don't remember what they are. Let me see if they're in the list.
I think for most of them you have to.
Here's a list. Here's the list.
Born to.
Here's the list. Here's the list. See this list?
Yeah.
Country: India, Pakistan, Japan, Egypt,
yeah.
Germany, Thailand, United Kingdom, France, South America, South Africa, Italy,
Right.
Colombia,
So
Sudan.
what's that supposed
Spain.
to prove?
These are all restricted.
Yeah, so okay.
And here's unrestricted: U.S., Brazil, Mexico,
right.
Tanzania, Argentina,
Right.
so forth. So the main thing was, and this is a philosophy, a viewpoint I have. I'm sure that in the United States, I'm not saying at the federal level, maybe just at the state level, anal sex was considered sodomy, homosexuality was outlawed. And after a period of time, gay marriages were approved through the Supreme Court. So there can be change. Change can occur. So right now we're a birthright citizenship country based on the 14th Amendment.
Right.
And, and then there's an argument where it says subject to the governance thereof. And the only exceptions they talk about are diplomats. If a diplomat has a child while in the U.S., then it's not a citizen. And there was one other category. But, let's say Trump or people like him are pushing like, well, if they're here on a student visa, then they have a kid, he's not a citizen. They're still a citizen of another country. They're a citizen of China or the citizen of France. They're not a citizen of the U.S. So the kid is born and he's a citizen of France. And as another factor in this, I'm just going to go sideways because I looked this up. Tulsi Gabbard was born in a territory, one of the islands in the Pacific. That's a territory. I don't think it was Guam, but one of those. And so then but her mother or her father was an American. So the article I was reading, they were talking like two people. I'm terrible with the names. The guy, he was born in Panama, but one of his parents was American. I think that was the guy, the military guy who had this thing growing on the side of his face, and he ran for president. But he ran for president because his father was an American citizen, even though he was born in Panama. And another guy who was considering running for president is a guy that nobody likes, the Republican from, I guess it's Texas. And he was born in Canada, but one of his parents were American citizens. And Tulsi Gabbard was born in a territory like Puerto Rico, but in the Pacific.
So what's your point?
Well, it's another thing on birthright. And
we fought a civil war. That's why this exists.
Oh, okay. You're going to get sentimental on me, okay?
No, it's not a question of sentimental. It's like that's why the 14th.
I understand, but when the point I'm making is there are changes in a society. Things change, and there can be amendments. There can be changes.
Yeah, well, that's what he's trying to do, and I hope he gets fucking shut down completely.
Okay, great. So
because it's un-American. It's un-American. He wants to take the flag and wrap it. That is un-American.
What are you doing?
What do you mean? What am I doing? What do you mean? I'm just saying, like,
it's American. It's un-American.
He wants to sit there and waving the birthright citizenship.
You're waving.
That's un-American.
Jim, you're waving the flag.
You're damn right I'm waving the flag. I don't give a shit. I'm not some PC idiot. You're damn right I'm waving the flag.
Your voice is just like everybody else's. It's one man's opinion.
Yeah, so I mean, but there's constitutional law this is based on. This is based on the bloodshed of the American Civil War.
Yeah.
Pure and simple.
Right. So why did they put that clause in there, subject to the authority thereof?
So they could make former slave citizens, Ken. It's that simple. How else are you gonna get these people who have been here,
No. It said anybody who was born here, even if your parents never touched the soil, if you were born here, if your mother came in a hovercraft and you were born here in the US, you're a citizen. It said after that, it said subject to the authority thereof. So that's somebody put that clause in according to the research.
Look, this is ridiculous. People come here to America.
Yeah, I understand, but every time you use a word like this is ridiculous, all you're saying is I don't agree with whatever you say because what you say.
Well, but you're sitting there saying
why is it ridiculous? What does the word ridiculous?
The ability to become Americans.
Ridiculous mean? What does the word ridiculous mean? What does it mean?
What do you mean? What does it mean? It means that, like, if somebody's arguing a point of view, it's absurd.
Absurd.
It's like,
So ridiculous and
because
absurd.
again, these people who argue against birthright citizenship and argue to deport all these people, who the hell's going to pick all the goddamn fruit? Who's going to pick up all the vegetables? Who's going to go in the meat
Oh, I
factory?
know who. The aliens,
Who?
the illegal alien sub-citizen slaves. They're the only ones that'll work and don't
Sub-citizen
minimum
slaves. Right,
employment.
right.
They don't get any benefits. They're just trash. So get them to pick fruit and mow the lawn and work in factories.
Well, but you
Paint tires.
lived in California when you had all those
So you're
strikes by the grape workers.
you're supporting a society that has tiered citizenship.
Oh, come on. I mean, to sit a
It's sad.
Republican
If you don't
make
have
that
the illegal
argument, that's
aliens, who's going to
ridiculous.
pick the grapes? If you don't have the illegal aliens, who's going to pick the grapes?
Yeah, right, exactly. Who's
Okay.
going to pick the grapes? Who's going to pick the grapes?
Who's going to be the dishwasher at your local diner? You know,
There you go.
We've known this in New York for, you know, since we were kids. Who does that kind of work? You know.
Yeah, well,
You pick
I
that
made
up.
a pledge. I made a pledge that I'm to be very cautious of people who make judgment based on their own personal experience. I grew up in redneck, and in redneck, you always had your hands out of your pockets because otherwise you could be touching So I'm going to make that a law throughout the country that you have to keep your hands out of your pockets. You know, it's personal experiences, what you grew up with, whatever your mother told you.
How else are you supposed to?
You know, that's wonderful, but it's just personal experience.
Yeah. How else are people?
So, I mean, I'm just bringing up the possibility that there are laws that can change. We could go from monogamy to polygamy. We have a lot of Muslims living here. And I happen to know a lot of Muslims have more than one wife in the US, and they just don't report it. But it's a phenomena, and I don't even know if there's a law that says that only monogamy is legal. I don't even know what the law is. Is adultery illegal?
Because there's a crime called bigamy. So in most states, in fact, all states, I'm pretty sure.
Bigamy is being married to two people.
Yes.
But having four wives, that three of them,
you can have as many girlfriends or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah, you go.
Legally,
so another legal expert. I didn't know that. You know? If I get sued, can I call you for reference and give me the legal opinion? But the point is, cultures change. This is a country full of multiculturalism, right? We got people from various parts of the world, and different parts of culture have worked their way into the malage, the brewing pot of a culture here, American culture, right? It's not just cowboys and Oklahoma and all of that. We also have, tacos and pizza, and we have certain parties and quince, whatever that, the Latino celebration for a girl who's 15. You get different things. Oh, and we have all these black holidays like Kwanzaa and Juneteenth. So we're getting a cultural change of a mutation of the culture based on the demographics of the population. Okay. And the music, look at the music, how it changes. So culture can change, and there could be a cultural change in the concepts of citizenship. Like in Israel, I think they require everybody to be in the service. Everybody has to get, it's not like a draft or anything. You have to do your duty, like it or not, man or woman. And so every citizen there is in the army. I think you might not have to, but then you don't get certain benefits. So they have a tiered citizenship in Israel, and different countries have different policies. I'm only pointing out that it is not, it's that most of the countries in Europe don't have birthright citizenship. And so every time somebody comes along and says, why can't we be like Denmark? Why can't we be like Norway? Why can't we be like Sweden? Those countries are civilized and they don't have birthright citizenship. Oh, I don't talk about that. Just talk about their penal system, what they do with prisoners, what they do with people who are on drugs, and so forth and so on. So, well, what do they do with birthright citizens? You could take a look there, take a look at Europe for advice. That's all I'm saying. Not be so one-sided on it and say, Everybody who disagrees with me is a jerk. They're ridiculous. It's blasphemy. Fine. I'm not that much. I'm an American. I don't like it when people just try to associate this as being a criminal country. It's born in slavery, CRT. Born in slavery, operating in slavery. That's what this country is. It's just on the backs of the black man. That's all it's always ever been. I don't like that. I think it's not true. But I'm not that socked in. I'm not that much of a nationalist. When we have people from India come here to work and do computer programming, I've experienced that. So they push American programmers or potential American programmers off of the option because they'll work for less and they follow orders. Indians are very compliant to hierarchy, so they'll follow what people tell them to do. And but they push out the location, the options. Or one way of looking at it is they pull out, get rid of the opportunity for non-foreigners to get those same positions. Now, I could be wrong in that, and somebody else come along and say, no, that's not true. They create more jobs, and in fact, they create more opportunity for Americans to operate in computer programming. But it's an issue, it's a discussion. And so you got to decide, to what degree or when do I want to view things as an American citizen, and when and to what degree do I want to consider myself internationalist or Westerner, a part of the Western civilization, and then when and where do I want to consider myself a part of all humanity and say, oh, well, if one man is hungry, even in the most remote corner of the jungle, then I suffer too. It's kind of like a MLK statement or somebody. If one man is in jail, if one man suffers an injustice, we all suffer. I don't know. So it's a question, I think, of they're all reasonable statements to make, and they're all appropriate at different times and different places. But you can't and say, the one I'm using is the one that agrees with my viewpoint. And that's what's right. What I think is right is what's right. So that's all in terms of discussions about birthright citizenship. It is currently a violation to deny somebody citizenship who was born in this country unless their parents, both parents, were diplomats. That's the law. And currently, gay marriage is legal. That's the law. But there's an argument about whether or not a man can become a woman. That's an argument. I would say it's not a solid law that a person can decide what their gender is and then be altered to achieve it before they're 14.
Well, actually, we already know by a lot of things they never,
What was that? Speak a little clearer.
There, of course, are intersex people. So there's always been more than two genders. I mean, even biologically. Again, there are people that have ambiguous genitalia.
There's a few people who have a mix. There's lots of people who have XXXYY. There's people with messed up chromosomes and people with messed up organs. But it's a small commodity. I mean, a small amount of people. So I wouldn't suffer the whole society. There's people, I know a guy who's got a double thumb. Did you ever meet anybody with extra digits? You must have.
But I think actually there are more.
Have you ever met anybody with extra?
I believe there might be more intersex people than there are Jewish people in the country, actually.
More intersex than Jewish?
People were born, yeah.
Okay, so if we got rid of the Jews, then we make room for the intersexuals. Okay, I got it. That makes sense. I knew I could defend Hamas in some way.
Or significant part.
There's less Jews than there are intersex people. That's an interesting statement. Does that count? Does that count if a guy is intersex Jew, is a Jewish intersexual? Which camp does he belong to?
They would be both, yeah.
I guess it cancels out, right?
Right.
That's what I used to say about Barack Obama. If they ever do pass reparations, he's going to have to write himself a check because he's half white and half black. So, he's going to get reparations, he's going to have to pay it himself. So, okay, so that was that. Now let's go to your thing. We got time. Go pull up your other issue. We got enough time for your last issue.
That's fine. We can call
Gonna do it?
because we already talked about it. The other one. I had the quote, the thing from Democracy Now about Musk, but we already talked about that. So no point in doing a whole segment, a whole clip about it. Might as well call it a night. I gotta cook something anyway. So remember, it's past 10 over here, Ken.
Did you get it?
I'm calling it, Ken. You know, if you want to do something.
Yeah, I'm asking you. You got another thing to share, don't you?
No. Like I said, the clip I have is the one we already talked about. So
Oh, it was someone we already talked about? I'm sorry.
yeah.
I had these earphones on. I
Covered
didn't hear
it, so
them.
we don't have to go through it again.
All right. Is there anything else? What about you, Jim? Are you disgusted with me and mostly me?
Always discussing it. Always discussing it. Just like
I don't take any offense, you know. I try to be like Obama. I try to be, what do they call it? You know, Teflon. It just rolls off. I don't care what you call me. I'm a liberated soul. I don't
Well,
belong.
actually, I've gotten a lot of responses from authors and academics. So get ready, guys.
Oh,
Lots of stuff coming.
we got this. Yeah.
okay. Well, I'll tell you this because sometimes I don't feel like I have your attention. I think you're more relaxed now. It takes me twice as long to edit the videos because people attend without turning on their cameras and without having what they call representative picture.
Oh,
What do they call that?
it's hard. It's hard to
Avatar.
prevent that with certain people. I mean, I will turn my camera on with certain people because one guy wants to not have visuals. I said, okay. All that means is I got to be very well prepared for him because he said, I make money doing lectures with visuals. So I said, okay, cool. So we'll just do it a different way. Another person, basically 7 or 8 people responded positively. And we got positive feedback from people in general looking at stuff. I think I may have sent you guys some guy out of the blue, like he liked one of the things we did. So, like, what the fuck?
Yeah, what the fuck? But I'm doing it. I'm plugging. Went and found a picture of
What?
Jack DePalma.
Oh, yeah.
I found that and I stuck it in on his name because he didn't have his camera on. Now I could do this. I took a picture you had, which was too small, and I made it bigger. It took me a while, but it's a square picture. I turned it.
Well, some of it I don't really think you need to do because, I mean,
you think I don't need to do it?
No, because you covered like the other guy was talking. I think in one case, the speaker was talking. And I thought maybe that was with this guy Tor. And so I wasn't sure whether you mentioned that there was a problem that I hadn't reached a setting in Zoom that could allow people to be individually recorded or something like that.
No, yeah.
Are you talking about that?
With any software, there can be glitches and mistakes. Every time when you record and you say speaker, if you say gallery, every available person is displayed all the time.
Gallery,
okay. Speaker, only those persons speaking is presented. But if Tor is speaking and you cough, you're going to be displayed in the middle of his speech. Or if you rustle a cup, any noise you make that comes across says, oh, that's a speaker, and you get displayed. I have to cover that or do this or do that. Okay, that's one problem. But then I have to handle all the people who didn't present an image. Not even an image. They didn't turn their camera on, but they didn't present an image. There's a guy in the last, the meeting you had about the blacklist. There's a guy who you said, okay, Jim, what is it? And so there's a picture of Jim, but I don't know who it is. So I called him Jim. At least he gave me a picture. He's a young guy standing in front of a lake. Those are the things that take up the most of my time, trying to make it into something that doesn't distract the person from watching.
Well,
so it's absorbable, then they can watch it.
All right. Well, there's several people. There's a woman named Lily Geismar,
Yeah,
who teaches at Claremont McKenna, and she basically did a very good book critiquing the thrust of the Democratic Party from the 1970s on, in terms of essentially moving into a free market approach to social reform. Very important book. So anyway, so I'm debating whether, because some people wouldn't have read the book, and I don't have a copy of the book, so I may want to handle it myself. Then there is another person.
And what's that title?
It's called Left Behind. Then the other person is a guy did a book on the right wing, and that I will include and send out to people. His name is David Walsh. He teaches at UVA. Then they sent me a whole bunch of military history books from England, including 2 books that have to do with British brigadiers in the Western Front and in 1940, which look very interesting. Again, how to construct a PowerPoint for that. Maybe it's not necessary. I have to consult with the authors. Then we have one of the best French military historian, some American writing about French military.
Jim, is that Lily
Who?
Lily Geismar, the one you were talking about?
Geismar, Lily Geismar.
Yeah,
she
Public Library has her book.
Left Behind. Yeah. And then there is this woman who did a dissertation on the right wing in the 60s on college campuses, the reaction to SDS and all that. And I figured that would be interesting. So there's a whole bunch of people. And then a whole bunch of authors who have written books about the rise of Hitler. And so a guy responded to me today, sure, I'd love to talk about the first 100 days of Hitler. He did a book on that. His name is Fritsch. He teaches at Illinois Urbana. So, and I went and actually scanned pictures to construct a PowerPoint for that. So there's a lot of stuff. I just have to and we got that guy, Keith Lowe, for the 13th, but he doesn't want to be, he's not going to do his PowerPoint. So I said, fine. I just have to be well prepared for him. That's all. So anyway, so there's a lot of things. And then, I'll go live with my face with some of these guys to make it easier, to talk to them. I just have to put it all down and look at it calendrically. And then there's another guy at another school in California who wants to talk about the Sandinista revolution. So there's a lot of shit. And the main thing is to not have to burden you with editing like that.
Okay, great.
That's the main thing. There's to make it easier for you, because, a radio show is different. It's audio.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty good at this. I can discipline myself. I know how to do that pretty well. But this is a little different. It reminds me of the kind of arguments when they were setting up Democracy Now!, because they were trying to make it and organize it so it'd be visually interesting. But we're not doing that. We're not it's a different coordination. And then I talked to Ursula about, hey, some of the stuff we're doing, you guys might be interested to put up on AudioPort in the network. But they're not used to podcasts at this point, because podcasts can be constructed where we can use profanity. And I think that's great. You don't have to worry about the FCC at this point with podcasts.
Or radio podcasts.
Radio podcasts are different. I mean, if you're going to produce something, I mean, obviously, I wouldn't be using profanity if we were actually producing for radio. But look at Piers Morgan. I mean, they go nuts on Piers Morgan. And I haven't watched Rogan. I mean, you're watching Rogan more than I am.
No, the only time I catch Rogan is on the shorts, the clips. I don't
Oh,
have to
okay.
listen to- I've listened to some of his guests, are very educational, like Eric Weinstein. Very, very interesting.
Okay.
There's a very good YouTuber called Chris Williamson. Very good, does very good interviews, fairly objective, and he has good guests. And they
All
go
right.
bananas. They go deep, deep, deep into whatever they're talking about.
All right.
So that's good. There's a lot of talent out there in YouTube,
Oh, yeah.
and there's a lot of wacky, crazy, stupid shit too.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I think it's all positive that opportunity to have anybody do anything.
Right. Right.
And-
Right. Well, anyway, so we got a lot of stuff in the pipeline here to be developed. And I
Yeah.
just have to sort of organize it now.
Yeah,
It's too bad we don't get more people coming to this because, it'd be great if we had about 8 or 9 people arguing. We used to have more people arguing. Daryl hasn't come. Daryl hasn't been here for a long time. I don't know what's going on with Daryl.
Who?
Daryl McPherson.
Oh, Daryl. Yeah.
I haven't seen him in a while.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I could send
Of course,
him.
we don't know what's up with Dennis. We heard from him.
I think Dennis could be dead.
Yeah.
Dennis could be dead.
Talking about Dennis Goldstein.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he could be dead.
He
It's
fell
got to
off.
be. It's got to be a certainty. You send him an email, you're not going to get a
No, he doesn't. I've
we-
sent him
we have-
emails. I
yeah.
don't get a response.
Yeah. Lives in Jersey. So you could check
I'm gonna call my father up and ask him to come to. I mean, he's almost 100 years old. I'm gonna have him come, and when we do these history things, I'm gonna have him. I'm gonna say, hey, you want to come listen to this stuff?
Right. Well, you said he wasn't in Italy in '44, but he was after, right?
No, but he's but
You know what? Can I tell you something, Jim? Honestly, instead of historic things and Hitler, how about what's happening in Italy? Are they trying to get more people to become Italian citizens, to have dual citizenship? What's with their economy? What's with their immigration?
Yeah, but I would have to really, well, actually, I have an Italian birth certificate, Ken.
What kind?
I have an Italian birth certificate.
Oh, there you go. So there you go.
I mean, I could actually experiment with all that, but I don't necessarily want to go into the Italian embassy and do that. Gail wants me to do that. She wants me to get an EU citizenship.
Really?
But all that stuff. Yeah, I mean, I'd like to, but that requires work to really do that, to really find out what's going on in Italy or find out what's going on in Germany. That requires work. I mean, I would have to really work to do that and enlighten it. I spent about 8 hours today in the library working on all this shit.
I know, but you could find out by getting a good guess. We had a guy from.
Well, no. I need to really understand it myself. I mean, I really have to. I'm not going to approach this like that because I don't pretend to know the domestic politics of Italy well.
Yeah.
I don't pretend to know the domestic politics of Germany well. I'd like to get somebody who could talk intelligently about that. I agree. That I'd like to dig somebody out who can talk about that. I mean, I probably, but some of these guys and the Hitler stuff does, I mean, Hitler always has an attraction. Okay. There's always an attraction out there for that. Anyway. All right, listen, I got to go to sleep. I've been up since 4:30.
Okay, get some shut on. All right, see you when I see you. See you next week.
All right, take it, you guys. Bye-bye.
Okay, Alex, good night. All right, we're closing off. Everybody left. I'm sitting here by myself. It was me in New York, and no. It was Ken Aaron in Los Angeles. Yeah, somewhat in Los Angeles. I guess part of me is still living in New York. And Alex Stavropoulos in New York City, lives in near Stuyvesant Town. and Jim Garrison, who lives in his own universe, but goes to sleep in, I think it's Manhattan or possibly the Bronx. Doesn't matter, not that much difference. Okay, it's February 5th, 2025. That's the end of this meeting. And maybe I'll see you on the next one. Good night and do well.